alone, it is going to be hard to come back. And as we see Huk down at 94 food, Idra still close to max, getting +3 armor, picking off these little pylons around the map. And wow, that Greater Spire is also about halfway from being done.
Yeah, we've also got Carapace level 3 for the Zerg, and it's just really amazing. Off of that battle, I saw like 13 roaches coming out to assist with that. It's going to easily clean up this area over here. Not going to be a problem. Big question is Idra's game going to obviously continue to expand and get going here, but is he going to try to make a dash for that back wall there into the third expansion?
Well, it looks like he's starting to gear up to. He's heading cross map. He really doesn't want to have those Broodlords be out, and he is positioning in center to do exactly that. There's 2 Broodlords coming out, and already Huk is in an awkward situation. Does he get Colossi? Does he get Immortals? There's just so many units being made by his opponent right now. It is hard to know what the correct unit to choose is. And Idra's macro is so good, he hardly even has the money to build the Broodlords, and here comes the premature attack heading right in Colossi, and units scrambling to get in there. They're the Zealots with leg speed, charging up, throwing down some force fields, but he doesn't have the enormous Colossus numbers and the enormous sentry numbers that he used to. These Broodlords are out, and I do not know how Huk will be able to defend.
Yeah, this is going to be rough. The Broodlord's going to take some of the initial damage here off the top, and it's a really, really crazy positioning here for Huk because he wants to make sure he's sending a lot of Stalkers out here through the back, but maybe just checking. Once again, Idra is going to come onto the base of the natural here. Start using those Broodlords to take out the cannons, a great idea, and now the Colossus coming in from the back. He's going to split his army and get to work on both of the sides as roaches will start to bust this front door. Oh, and we got the Stalkers in the back going to try to focus fire down these Broodlords. We've only got Hydralisk here battling it out, but Huk is on the retreat.
And it looks like more Zealots being morphed in there by Huk could potentially do some damage with some DTs if you morph them in, but he really wants to pick off those Broodlords. One more does fall down. Oh no, Colossus on the battle rally is going to get taken down. No DTs being morphed in, just one Colossus with 23 kills. More units being warped in. That one Colossus might live a little bit longer, but there are so many units streaming in from Idra. Roach is taking the damage, Hydra's dealing the damage. More gateways even being built by Huk as he cannot just macro fast enough. Broodlords slowly working their way in, and the incredible macro player Idra wins with huge streams of units to tie the series 1-1.
That was a cool game.
This is indeed the Notebook Finals, Wheat.
Yeah, and you know what? What was so great there is that we saw an actual demonstration of everything that we talked about that was strong about that player. The macro aspect from Idra, the aggression aspect from Huk, and in this particular case, Huk dealt the aggression early on, but Idra was able to stop it and macro his way to victory, making it 1-1 now and defending Huk from the laptop.
True. We are tied up. Block. Oh, forearm. And of course, keep in mind, these are nerd forearms. They are almost unstoppable. We'll be going into Game 3 here on Steps of War shortly. We are just inviting our good friend DJ Wheat to the game now.
Oh, okay.
You know, I think that the key moment in that game was when Idra did a very, very calm defense of the run-up that Huk did. Huk went up the ramp, threw down the force fields, but Idra was very careful, positioning very carefully, and that, I think, really got him into the advantageous position. And again, as Artosa says, if you're ahead, get more ahead. And interestingly enough, when a lot of players are ahead, they screw up and botch the game horribly. But Idra's best talent, I think, is that when he's ahead, he never gives up the advantage.
He did a really good job. As one of the things that you pointed out there, he was in battle with a maxed army, 200-200, and as his units were dying, you would watch his units go from like 197, 200.
Yeah.
193, back up to 200.
It was so cool, honestly. I cannot believe how good he is at macro. I mean, that's really the sign of an expert player of any RTS. They say, what are all the things I need to be doing in a battle? I always still need to be making units. Seems like such an obvious thing to say, but in the moment, it's so hard to pull off. When Idra is actually just briefly swapping out his monitor. There was a monitor error. He was so angry about that win that he punched a hole through his monitor, and he needs to get another one.
Angry about the win?
Yeah, sometimes it's possible. You know, that I actually think that that is a good sign of a true competitor. The player who wins and is still like, oh, it's not the way I wanted to win.
We
That
saw a
didn't
nice
feel good.
We saw a nice Roach Hydra combination right there.
Haven't seen that in a while.
It worked good. I was a little worried in that last battle, actually, for Idra. You know, when he was attacking the expansion, he had, like, sort of split his army off a little bit. The Roaches ended up in the backside.
Ooh, yeah,
it was kind of scary thinking all those Colossi were just...
So it looks like Idra is just going to be getting invited to this game. I need him to relog because for some reason it is not letting me invite him.
Okay, he'll relog and we'll get this game 2 started here in just a moment. Thanks for joining us here. If you don't know what's going on, well, thanks for stumbling onto our humble little production. This is the EG Masters Cup Series, StarCraft 2 edition, and right now 2 of the best players from North America, undoubtedly, EG Idra and Liquid.Huk, battling it out because Liquid.Huk won the competition and now is trying to defeat Idra to win the MSI Notebook right here, the GT660. And so exciting, thing to play for. These guys play for money. Huk already won $1,000. Also getting the opportunity to basically have his mobile StarCraft 2 game station. So I'm DJ Wheat, and joining me as always, this guy right here.
Hello, I'm Day9.
And
we are going directly into Game 3 right now. They are playing for this MSI GT660 laptop. The map that Huk has chosen is going to be Steps of War. He's consistently shown he has a good way to both be aggressive and continue to transition.
I'm actually really excited for this one.
Drop in the stream.
Wait.
It looks like Day9, a.k.a. me, decided to drop the game. So, well, I would just request that we change the camera back to us so I can relog on without publicly displaying my email, a talent I am known to have. So
that was actually pretty crazy.
All right.
I mean, literally, I don't know what happened.
Awesomeness
just like...
Yeah, I know. The servers got clogged with how many people are trying to log in here at the same time. But either way, I am rehosting on Steps of War, which is, of course, Huk's choice of map.
Steps of War, close positions, been around since the beta. A lot of strategies developing on this one. One of my favorite early strategies that we saw was the pylon behind the destructible rocks for the Protoss to warp in those units not only on that low ground there, but right in front of the rocks and go for those quick pushes. Obviously, things have changed a lot since then, but really see some cool play on this one. But for Zerg, it's kind of weird, being as small as it is.
Yes, very, very tense, but always there is the counterattack advantage, which I think is the big strength Zergs have. I think everyone is aware that Zerg wants to stay alive as long as possible. Or, excuse me, Zerg wants to have, obviously, Zerg wants to have as big a distance as possible. There we go. So that way Zerg can see it coming, respond, defend, defend,
so they can stay alive as long.
But most of the time, yes, thank you very much. Very good, Protege Wheat. The real danger is when on close positions, if a player does a huge attack and then botches, and the Zerg immediately swarms back into his face. We see Slush beat Kiwikaki. In fact, in almost every game that they played in that series, very, very tense for both players. But again, that's the way they live life. We are going into Game 3 between Huk and Idra here at the EG Masters Cup Notebook Final, sponsored by MSI. Idra in the top right, just taking his first win in the last game, and Huk in the bottom left as the sad, frowny blue Protoss.
Yes, of course, tied 1 game apiece, and if you haven't already, Dave, make sure to set yourself to busy, because I know when we
totally
get resets, oh, you're the bomb.
As a hermit, as one of my utmost skills.
Of course, we got blue Huk, Protoss, down in the southwest position, and we already saw where Idra was. So on this map, it is like a hop, skip, and a jump right to your opponent's expansion, making that now, oh, totally Zerg safe 15 hatch, not really that way. What are your thoughts? What kind of insight can you give us here, Dave, for all those aspiring players out there?
Weirdly enough, I think that most Zergs aren't going to mind as much about the proximity as they would, I would say, earlier on. Nowadays, Zergs are almost always getting that pool pretty quickly against Protoss because the threat of being cannon rushed is so high. So in these spots, you get your forge up. The real thing, your pool up. The real thing you're worried about is after you get your pool up, getting blocked really hard Huk continuing to just be aggressive. He's now going to return back to the expansion, block it at the good time while he throws down his gateway.
And that's exactly what we saw Huk do versus Machine here on Steps of War. Machine tried to basically counter it or answer to it by nidusing into his third and also trying to expand over there. Was a pretty rough game. I'm curious to see if Huk is going to try to assert the same level of aggression that he did versus Machine. Obviously knowing that Idra has dealt with a lot of the cheese because of what you talk about too, and practicing a lot of those strategies over and over. Might not be perfect for where it's at, but
you know, I think the one thing that we're already seeing is a big switch that Idra's doing is getting this gas in a very planned, fast fashion. He threw his pool down, and then very shortly thereafter threw down his gas, which I really think that if Huk did some sort of crazy +1 fast 4-gate push, he could possibly kill it outright, but I don't know if Huk's willing to do that sort of crazy all-in. Ooh, Idra getting a very fast Roach Warren. We've seen Zergs do this before. Slush did it after a 10 pool. Idra doing it on a 14 pool. Let's see if the economic one's better or if the speedy one's better.
it also is not scouted by Huk on his exit of the base, highlighting him and looking over at the vision. He only sees that pool, so Huk gonna head on back, and Overlord is gonna get a good idea what's going on there. Sees the cybernetic core going to drop as well. First lings are out, and I assume with the fast gas, well, no, not necessarily a good assumption. It's specifically for the roaches.
Yeah, roaches do take quite a good bit of gas because you can't really get gas very quickly off of one geyser. So players will end up stockpiling that gas early on. We see one roach building for Idra. Let's see if he throws down any more. Uh-oh, Huk, he could swing around the backside, but there's a queen right in the way. There's one hit. Oh, does get taken down. And I think that